Achieving sustainable food security in Nigeria has continued to face obvious threats in recent times. Now we know food crops and livestock are vital in providing nutrients, the basic ones of course, needed for human and animal survival. The various challenges in food production can be overcome with the best brains providing ideas on best agricultural practices to be adopted. Now what more do we need to do to achieve sustainable food production as well as livestock management? For the next half hour, my guest on the spot today will attend to our concerns. Welcome to the program. My name is Blessing Abu. My guest hails from Kwande in Kwampan local government area, Shendam in Plateau State. Now he holds a master's degree in veterinary science from the University of Ibadan and Doctor of Veterinary Medicine degree from the Ahmadu Bello University. He also got a PhD from Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. My guest will later lecture and extensively rose to the pinnacle of professorship in 2005. From the Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto. He's a livestock don and is specializing in infectious diseases of livestock and veterinary legislation. He has served as Provost, Federal College of Animal Health and Production Technology in Plateau State. As a member of the Veterinary Council of Nigeria, he distinguished himself in improving livestock production. He's a publisher of several articles as well. My guest has been called on several occasions to learn his professional experience and leadership qualities, including that of the National President, Nigerian Veterinary Medical Association, and also President, Veterinary Council of Nigeria. He was acting Executive Secretary of Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria between September 2019 and April 2020, where the confirmation for this appointment of that's present position as Executive Secretary now stands. On the spot this week, let's welcome the Executive Secretary, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, Professor Garba Hamidu Sharubutu. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and welcome to all Nigerians.
Thank you. This is one area that is very dear to your heart, at least from what we've seen from your educational pursuit. There must be something about agricultural practice, livestock management, and also its production generally for you, so dear to your heart. Now, give us a sense of what it means to actually go into this field and what the field has as potentials and other prospects.
Let me start by thanking you very much for bringing me on board. But I hope Nigerians and the world over will appreciate the significant position of food. We need food for sustenance. But this food must be produced, because in the old Stone Age, we keep on moving about looking for food. But with growth in population, everybody knows that you must have to provide for the rainy days. And that is the more reason why we have started the issue of domesticating animals and improving productivity. Apart from that, if we call some years back during our period of growth at the level of the primary school, there's this orientation that is given to us on the need for some of us to go into agriculture, the Young Farmers Club, different names in different regions of this country. But along the line, we seem to have lost track. When we are writing composition in the primary school, the usual topic of discussion is what will you like to be in future? And most of us we want to be farmers. That was in the olden days. Today, it has been relegated to the background without a definition. If I ask my students now what to define a farmer, nobody can define farming.
Perhaps they'll give you the definition of somebody with a hoe and cutlass.
Exactly.
Looking bent over.
Now, the point there is that this lack of definition has led to a lot of abuse. But I think we must key in ourselves to the need for each and everyone to look at farming and agriculture.
Okay, so for the council now, that's Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, whereas farming generally, or management of agricultural practice, left the average Nigerian, And where are we today from the council's outlook?
Up to now, we are into the unsustainable type of farming. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because a lot of our people, yes, they love farming, but we farm not for business purpose, we farm for cultural purposes. And that is the more reason why there's this complaint that the old generation are those that are into farming and the younger ones. So you can see it is more of a cultural thing now. Most of us go into farming without the proper orientation of what good farming practice is. It is this idea that has led the government to establish research institutes, because there are certain inputs that are necessary for you to have good production. Now, these research institutes, as overseen by the Agricultural Research Council, are expected to bring forth genetic improvement on our own local crops, as well as develop new ones for the purpose of good production. At the level of the ARCN, our mandate is to supervise the 15 agricultural research institutes in the country, the colleges of agriculture, but more so, we are expected to advise the government on the issue of food security and research, training, and extension service. That is one. Two, we are also expected to seek funding in order to improve those research institutes. One thing we have found out is that, yes, a lot of researches has gone into the public, but to get the private sector to offtake our research products and utilize them for the purpose of production.
Why is it difficult to achieve? Because we keep hearing that research institutes are vested with so much power and also the opportunity to do this, but it will appear the results of such researches are just gathering dust on the different shelves.
Actually, I have actually debunked the issue of our research products being on the shelf. A good number of them, a few of them may be on the shelf. But if you go to the various farmers within the locality of that environment, you find out that they are using our research products. Okay. You have heard about vitamin A incorporated cassava. You have heard about various varieties of rice. You have about various varieties of maize that are produced. So these ones are there. But like I said, the off-taking of this research product is there because the research institutes are not, established to go into production. Okay. We are supposed to innovate, to bring good innovations, and immediately we bring these good innovations, the expectation there is that would-be farmers, those intending, will be able to take off this, and that is what the Honorable Minister is actually working on right now. Because immediately he came, he asked us to list the number of products that we have, and we gave him. And he asked us who are the few off-takers we have gotten, and we said this is it. So he is directing us to say, go out and look for off-takers. Now, why don't we have off-takers? The answer is very simple. Agriculture is very risky. It's a very, very high-risk profession. The second thing that is capital intensive. The third aspect of it there is that there are other competing traits that will give you quick returns other than agriculture. The fourth one there is that we claim we can just jump into agriculture without a proper orientation. If you are going to be a veterinary surgeon today, like I am, there is what you call internship. You want to be a pharmacist, there is internship. You want to be a medical doctor, there is internship. This internship is a period where you have learned the rudiments and you now want to try your hands on the physical being, the physical trait that you have. Just like what happens to a typical Igbo man. He will not get money and just call his brother and say, take money and go to this. So farming is not expected for you to just grab money and go to farm and do. The minister has approved that we must bring up a program for internship for would-be investors in agriculture.
How strong is this coming on now?
Already we are in the incubation stage. We have written our proposal, but you see, for the minister to endorse any proposal, what you need to do, he's a practical farmer. Someone I don't know is a practical farmer, and all he wants to do is that you must prove to me that this thing can work before he lays his hand. So we have called the first stakeholders to come and look at what we have put in place. By the time they give us the go-ahead, we'll now make a presentation to him for him to endorse.
Okay.
But you need internship.
Right.
It is that internship that will now define who a farmer is. Do you know why? If you don't have the proper definition of who a farmer is, every person on the street, once government wants to bring up any facility, will jump into it and pick it. So majority of our farmers may not really have access.
Okay, so Professor, define to us who this farmer that we're looking at for today to address the issue of what I started with in the introductory part of this program, achieving for us sustainable food security. This farmer is going to be needed to do things differently from what we've seen over the years.
We want a farmer to be somebody who has ownership of land, either in terms of lease or in terms of inheritance or purchase. That is the first criteria to determine anybody who wants to go to farm, and that must be investigated. The second thing there is we want a farmer that has the rudiment of knowledge of agriculture, to say at least let him undertake a course of training, whether he is literate or not literate. Let him be somebody that has undergone a course of training that will lead to certification, to the fact that yes, he can actually understand what is there. And I want to say this is vital, because you want to know where your money is going into. If you call me as a veterinary surgeon to go and manage your farm, it is your investment that I'm looking for my salary from. It is your investment that I think I am hoping to make a future from. So perhaps what concerns me is not what you make out of the farm, but when you have a rudimentary knowledge of what you are doing, you know how to peg, how much to peg my salary. We have a situation where people will invite people to come and work at a parcel of land of 1 hectare and spend money in plowing and this, not thinking about what will cause them to harvest. So at the end of it, they harvest and sell what they have not even invested. So it will be nice for him to have a rudimentary knowledge of it. Thirdly, he must be somebody that is committed and very, very specific to what agricultural production he wants to go into. If you want to go into integrated farming, it will be compared to the size of the land that you want. These are the people that we are asking government to give assistance to, not the people that there will be advertisement either by NISAL or by Central Bank of Nigeria to say we want to give some grants, for people, and those who have supported us during politicking with cutlass and matches will say this is our time to come and collect this type of thing. So once you put these three things in front, he has the land, he has the rudimentary knowledge of what is there, and he has a focus of what he wants to do. So on a scale of 1 to 10, so far and over the years of research that could have pushed us to now redefining this, how would you score the kind of agricultural system that we have in Nigeria and kind of farming that we have pushed out so far? You see, as far as I'm concerned, based on my research, I will lump up the sustainable agricultural development and the backyard, or what you call the extensive system of farming, to say that it has constituted just about 90%. Okay. But the actual commercial farmers, I can tell you that they are not more than 10%, and even then, they have not been successful.
We're going on a break now. When we get back, there are obvious threats, no doubt, like I pointed out, to having us stay on that sustainable food security chart. And if we were to do the business of agriculture like it's been done in other parts of the world, for a population as large as Nigeria's, then we must be doing things in a different way. Some of these threats we'll look at with you, as well as what other things that the research institutes, as many as they are, where they're touching lives in their own way. The program is on the spot. I'll be right back with Professor Sharubutu in a short while. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back. The program is on the spot, and I still have my guests seated, taking a look at agricultural practice generally, and also livestock management, which is another practice under agriculture. Professor Sharubutu, let's take a look at what we're trying to look at as obvious threats to achieving food security. Now, livestock management is one aspect, because I know we've been talking generally, agriculture generally. Under agriculture, beyond the farmers too, we have livestock production, we have livestock management, and concerns of recent especially have been in the areas of clashes from other forms, not just for herders and farmers. There are other ecological threats. There is climate aspect as well. Now, let's take these threats one after the other. What have you found out, and where are the obvious gaps?
In Nigeria today, we have two threats. The first is the COVID-19 threat, which is a reality. The second, and most important, is the threat of insecurity. I don't want us to search for solution far away, because the solution is available before us. There's a common factor for this threat. And this is one factor that has never been looked into. Never. Which is? Which is the forest. The scheme of service of the Federation has provided for what we call forest guards. And I've advocated for it years and times without number. That if we do not empower the forest guards to police our forests as provided by the scheme of service for the cadre, the threat will also always be there. And if you look at all the stories about these people that are coming out to attack, they attack from the forest and go back to hide in the forest. So we can mount policemen on the road, security agencies on the road to support them, because unless if you are saying for each meter you're going to put a security. So that is the underlying factor that we are supposed to address in the fight against terrorism and insecurity in this country. We need to do something very, very urgently about that. If you trace Kenya, you will find out that their forests are well manned, and so nobody intrudes into the forest. Forest constitutes a factor, apart from the issue of whether there is poverty in the land or there is no poverty in the land. The second factor there is the issue of rural development. It is either we develop the rural areas or we'll continue to have insurgency there. Now, these livestock farmers are themselves facing the threat of this insecurity. They are not free from it. Their cattle are being roasted. They have been deprived of where to graze because people don't allow them to graze. And so if your source of economy is being depleted, it's as good as somebody wishing you death. And so they now take the laws into their hands to say, let me go and protect
my investments. And
that is not a right. Agreed, that is not a right. But you see, for somebody that has remained predominantly religiously and by Western education illiterate, he feels that he has a right to defend himself. Remember that these are people that don't know laws. Some of them cannot recite the Quran. Some of them cannot recite the holy prayers in the Bible, the Lord's Prayer in the Bible. So they don't give a damn. And those of us who are resident in that, the majority of people who are resident in the town do not even see the criminality in selling gun to people. So this is a very, very serious threat. That of coronavirus, I think the Honorable Minister Sabona Nono has been able to bring up an idea to say, this is what we are going to do. Whoever wants to help us in this country, he has said, let us concentrate on quick maturing crops. Cowpea, maize, rice, because these are the staple food of the country. So he said, let us try and see what we can do as a research institute to develop these quick maturing crops.
Okay, I know the part of this already spelled out with NLTP, that's the National Livestock Transformation Plan, and this is supposed to be an initiative for 10 years period window, but like you already pointed out, the coronavirus pandemic threatened some other aspect, but then now you're looking inward to see how things can just be tweaked here and there. How do we begin to address this to have the buy-in of everyone? So such that the appellation that we have given it, or trying to announce, okay, we're not going to be going into this because government has an ulterior agenda.
Yeah, let me give you this practical example because I was involved. With all humility, I had the privilege of being the special advisor to the governor of Plateau State, Governor Lalong, on agriculture. And when the issue of the livestock transformation agenda came, we had our problems in Plateau State. And people kicked against it because they saw it as a livestock thing. The governor remained determined. And what we had to do was to look at, a simple census of who owns cattle. There is no ethnic group in Plateau State that does not own cattle. Maybe that of the governor. They may not. But there is no. The Tarok person has livestock, the Morable person has livestock, the Tal person, the Birom person. They have livestock equally. So we now decided the best thing for us to do is to now domesticate that national livestock transformation agenda. Yes, we have Fulani in that place. We say, okay, there was a government grazing reserve in that place. You take you take your cattle to that place. But part of the resources are expected to be dedicated to those other ethnic groups that will not want to be relocated towards a grazing reserve or in Kanam, to now assist them in developing. Now, these are practical things. They fall into the definition of who a livestock owner is, because they have the livestock, they have the land.
And the livestock shouldn't just be limited to cattle.
Exactly. So it's not even about cattle. We have proposal. Those that are rearing pigs, we gave a proposal to the governor, and of course he accepted. How do we encourage people to also rear pigs? If you go, a piggery was in the Middle Belt was almost like the preserve of Benue. But now within the Middle Belt region, you find out that Plateau State is coming up. In fact, there's even a glut currently. They have been calling me to say, what is it? So we are encouraging piggery, we are encouraging livestock. In fact, when we are having one of these meetings, somebody came up and said, look, my friend, why are you talking about doggery, in order to rear this? No. But this is the perspective that every state government is supposed to key in.
So education
on the part of the
training is very important.
On the part of the Miete Allah Cattle Breeders Association, our cry to them here is this: enough of this city activity. Let us get down. Your members are being accused as the people that are perpetrating mayhem. What is your response?
Okay.
Even if you have been responding, people don't know. We must have to move into the village and try to educate people very, very well. You are mentioning education. The Minister, Nanono, has just approved that the Agricultural Research Council should establish a radio and television station. In fact, our studio is almost ready now. We are mounting our mast there. We are looking for license. Now, what are we going to do with that? We are thinking that there is a situation where each of our research institutes will be able to come and talk for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours on what they are doing. Because as it is now, people don't even know what they are doing. In fact, even because I had contact with 1 or 2 of you, some of you do not even know what is Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria. If I ask you now where am I located, you will just assume that I'm in Abuja.
No, you're not.
So the point there is that there's a need to educate. But more so, in our budget for 2019, 2020, I want to proudly say that this is the only regime that gave us 100% release of our own budget. 100%, without any question. The performance budget was 100%. But we have been directed to establish and continue to resuscitate our AROC centers. These are agricultural, rural setting for adopted villages. We are now moving our research institute into establishing outreach centers.
Which is good, because another area that technology will help. Yes, we might see agriculture as a cultural form, like you pointed out earlier on. But today, technology is also advancing different cultural forms for nations. How do we make sure that Nigeria we have the buy-in of both youth and even the particular group that we want to go into this agriculture practice?
One of our research institutes, that the National Agricultural Extension Research and Liaison Services in Zaria, they have gone further to make sure that agri-extension has become a commodity of the rural communities, so they own it. We are, like I said, expanding our AROC centers, adopted villages, adopted schools. And so we are training trainers that are going out to do that. These are all incubated within the mandate of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria.
Okay, well, I know we've been taking a look at livestock generally as a system, as well as other agricultural practice and form. For us to achieve that which we believe will be sustainable food security for the nation, already the threat about even the intake of protein, and we remembered at a point we had to actually close the borders to check the excess smuggling of produce and also livestock. Let's have your final word, because we must go now. Achieving food security is no doubt at the heart of Mr. President. and we must feed ourselves as a nation, and even our neighbors, definitely we need to take it on a different level. What would you advocate?
Food security is the responsibility of all. The way we manage our resources, the way we manage our land, the way we manage our farm must reflect the responsible nature of our feeding. The truth about it is that we must control wastage. I remember when I went home to look at one naming ceremony, despite the fact that people are talking about hunger, so the wastages that is being thrown all over the place under the name of celebration. I'm not stopping celebration, but please, we have a responsibility to really ensure food security. We can go to farm. We can do the little we have. We can listen to extension work. You mount a rostrum now and try to see whether if you can educate people about farming, nobody comes to it. But I'm telling you that we are on it, we are pursuing it, and we will succeed.
Executive Secretary, Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, Professor Garba Hamid Sharubutu, thank you very much for coming on the spot.
Thank you.
I appreciate your insights, and we also wish you well in your assignment to actually get us back on that state for effective food security through agricultural practice. Thank you so much for watching On the Spot this week. We hope to bring to you another interesting guest on the next edition. My name is Blessing Abu. Goodbye.